Welcome back. This is Tomomi from Flying Elephant Yoga. This is a follow-up sequence to my previous one called Perfect Prep. Today we're going to be practicing headstand. If you have any injuries whatsoever, head and neck especially, or if you are pregnant, please follow up with your doctor. And I highly recommend working with your private yoga teacher so that they're there for you and they can observe your body as you come into this pose safely. If you're practicing headstand and it's been a little while that you've been working on, please don't give up. It will take time, but you will get there. It's just one of those things where it takes everyday effort to get there, but we will get there. So I hope this sequence will be helpful to you. I hope you enjoy. So we'll be starting from easy plank position and slowly lower down to the ground for locust pose. Press your hip crest to the ground, interlace your fingers into yoga mudra. And as you inhale, press down, lift your legs and your chest off the ground. Be more concerned about being long than going higher. Hold it here for a few breaths. And as you exhale, slowly lower down to the ground. You can do this a few times if you like, or you can come into Dhanurasana bow pose directly, grabbing your ankles, knees about hip width apart, and with your shin, your leg strength, lift your chest off the ground. The more you press your ankles into your hands, the higher your chest will go up. And slowly lower down to the ground. Pressing the tops of your feet to the floor. As you inhale, come up to your tabletop. We'll be moving into Ustrasana, camel pose. Knees right under your hips. You can grab your block between your thighs. I keep my hands on my belly just to lean back a few times because I have abdominal separation from pregnancy. If not, you can just keep your hands on your hips. Just get a feel for it, leaning back and coming back. Keeping your hips right above your knees, and when you're ready, hands to your hamstrings, your calves, or your ankles. As you press your hips forward, lift your center of your chest up to the sky. It's going to be a little difficult to breathe, but hold it here. When you come out, you're going to keep your legs very strong, hands to your hips. Slowly come up. Head is the last to come up. And have a seat on your feet or block. Let's do a little twist, gentle twist. There's my son who's been itching to get in front of the camera. Slow down your breath. And switch to the opposite side. I often like to do this after back bends. Every back bend, deep back bend especially, I do. I usually move straight into lion twist or seated twist before I move into any kind of forward bend. Just to bring your spine back to a neutral position in a more gentle way. Now let's move on to a dolphin pose. This is a perfect prep for headstand. Pressing your forearms to the ground and lifting your hips high. And hold it here for a few breaths. Lifting your tailbone high up, sitting bones high up. And slowly come back into your child's pose. And let's try that again. Forearms to the ground and lift your sitting bones high up. Now all the while, pull your outer armpits in towards each other, creating a slight external rotation in your shoulders so that you're not closing the space between your ears and your shoulders. And back into your child's pose again. Just for a few breaths. Now let's get ready for your headstand. There are many ways to hold your position in this pose. This is one way of doing it. I grab my elbows, not just brushed against. Grab my elbows, that's about shoulder width. Interlace your fingers. Bottom pinky finger goes inside. Then bring the top of your head to the ground, lifting your shoulders up towards your hips. That's really, really important. You can either stay here for a few breaths, especially if you feel kind of wobbly, or slowly start to walk your feet forward. Now, there's a moment where your weight shifts and your feet will naturally come off. Now, then this upside down chair pose situation is a perfect place to just practice and stay to find your stability and balance. You can either stay here or slowly lift your feet up to the sky. Never ever jump into headstand. It's a little bit different than handstand. You always want to walk your feet towards your nose so that your weight naturally shifts. Your feet will naturally lift off. So find that moment and then you can slowly start to lift your feet up. When you're ready to come down, straight into your child's pose. Have a few breaths here. Don't lift your head up right away. Slow down the breath. After a few breaths, you can either go back in, or when you're done, you can slowly come up and prepare for either full shoulder stand if you have a practice. Once again, if you have your private yoga teacher, it's perfect place to practice, or supported shoulder stand. The one I'm doing is the supported shoulder stand. So look straight up to the sky. Never ever turn your head side to side in shoulder stand. You're going to kick up to grab your back, your lower back, or your hips. Pull your upper arm bones in towards each other and lift your chest. So the one that I'm coming up into, it's called candlestick. You see my hips are way more forward than my head. So most of my weight is actually on my forearms or my elbows as opposed to my neck or shoulders. It's one of the safest ways of doing shoulder stand. And then when you're ready, you can bring your feet back. Brief bridge pose here. Always nice to add a bridge pose. Feet about hip width apart and lifting your thighs up. And slowly come back down to the ground. Now let's prepare for cool down. Line twist, drop your knees onto your right. And to your left. Once again, you see how I would come into your twisting pose as opposed to bringing my knees in straight away. You can do the bridge pose again, or if you're ready, Urdhva Dhanurasana wheel pose by bringing your hands by your ears, pressing your hands down. First, you can lift your hips. You can absolutely stay here, or if you like, push down on your hands, come up onto the top of the head, elbows in. Or push down even more and come into a full wheel. Feet are pressed, hands are pressed. You're using your leg strength to come into this pose. Have a couple more breaths here. And slowly come back down to the ground. Supta Baddha Konasana, butterfly pose. Feet together, knees wide apart, hands to your belly. You can stay here as long as you like. If your hips get tired, straighten your legs. And this concludes our headstand flow. I hope you enjoyed. Please let me know how your practice went. If you have any questions, please comment below. And see you soon.